cable. And the difference between excitation and laxity is that fine. You're that finely balanced. Your SHAMATA. This is would be amazing, right? So with each in-breath, you are invigorating your clarity. Each in-breath, you're focused only on the tactile sensations, and you notice an increase of your clarity. So I'm up there on the high wire. Clarity, clarity, clarity. That clarity is so much because I'm so finely balanced that it is enough to knock me off into excitation. If I don't do what? Immediately release, 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 to move back into balance. Clarity, 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 clarity. Too much. Release, release, release. Bring it back into balance. And the release is so much that it will knock you off into dullness if you don't immediately on the next in-breath revive clarity. So you see your balance is so fine, can be so fine, that the clarity that you get on each inhalation, because this is what you're now doing, is consciously increasing clarity with each in-breath. So clarity is associated with the inhalation. And you don't have to be going clarity, 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 clarity. It's all you do is focus on the tactile sensations of the in-breath, and you notice an increase of clarity. That's all you do. You're focused on the tactile sensations. And you are focused on the tactile sensations of the exhalations, and you notice a deepening of relaxation. But that you are so finely balanced that the differences can be so profound that you're forced to keep applying each round of breath, the antidote, or you're going to fall off into laxity or into excitation. So this is the Padmasambhava oscillation. You are oscillating between invigoration and release. This is the extreme sport of meditation. This is exciting. This is like doing walking meditation on top of a seawall that has a rounded top. Like this is my favorite place in Vancouver to do it, on English Bay. A rounded top of a seawall with a 10-foot drop down to crashing waves. Any chance of falling asleep there? Any chance of, thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch? Where's the best salmon in town? No, it's just perfectly focused on sensations underfoot. Because the consequences are extreme at that point. So that's the Padmasambhava oscillation. Every inhalation you are increasing clarity, every exhalation, deepening relaxation. It's like being at the beach and watching a swell wash onto the beach and flood, especially a very flat beach. It just, out in Gloucester, there's Massachusetts, there's this wonderful beach, Good Harbor Beach, that is so flat. It's the flattest beach I've ever seen. And so when a swell washes on, it's like, it'll wash 50 yards onto the beach and then recede 50 yards back. And so it's like that. You're being at the beach and just watching the surge of the water onto the beach and then flood back out into the ocean. And that, when you're doing that, when you're at the beach and watching that, it's just fascinating, isn't it? Because there's something going on. And so this is the power of the Padmasambhava oscillation, is that there's enough going on to keep your mind really fascinated with the whole process. This continual oscillation between invigoration and release. And it's totally fun. Yes,
sorry. So when you, I'll think a little bit I've had recently quite often where I sit to meditate and I have like an onslaught of an energetic pulling in one direction or another, and it kind of could be, I could say, oh, certain times it feels like it's pulling me to a more excited state or a dull state. But there's a resistance. I'm trying to not. It's like being Shanghai because it's a force that is taking me, and I'm not taking it. But the resistance to like stay stable makes, no matter where this energy is pulling me, it's very physical feeling. It creates tension, you know? So then I'm thinking, and I have to be honest, now that I'm saying, I don't think I've really tried to relax and not fight them.
Yeah.
They're like, it's like the dream going or something. And maybe at times it's like the nodding off. So I feel tension. So do you suggest that I maintain, and that's kind of what I'm doing at that time? Is like, it's almost like a colander, and you're sort of on the object, but underneath, like something's still coming through. I can't stop it, so I'm, should I let go and just go with what's happening? Try both. When they exit.
Yeah, so this might not be the most fruitful meditation for that condition.
Okay.
You probably would want to do something more like the infirmary for the excitation. And just really, really relax. So this is what I think of as the most advanced method for exclusive selective attention on the breath. So, this is something that you work up to, but you might just nail it like right now because you're just right in the right spot for it, your attention. So, but you get the idea that your attention has to be fairly finely focused in order to pull this off. And then if you can, both your stability and, guess what, the vividness are going to be, because that's what you're really getting in the extreme sport of meditation is vividness. There's one more thing, I think. Yeah, I think that's probably enough to do this meditation. So this would be a good one to do in seated position. Oh, there was one more thing. So why did I even bother to talk about that level 4 bullseye and peripheral attention? Because you get the idea. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to. Yeah. Okay. You get the idea here that we've been talking about the evolution of introspection and how that's necessary as you progress, as your mindfulness is becoming more and more stable and vivid and you're ascending through the levels of shamatha. Your introspection has to evolve from being a sentry to a motion detector. I think that's as far as we got, right? A sentry and a motion detector. So, a motion detector, that's going to be very helpful on the high wire. But let's make sure that that is giving us real-time information at this point now, right? So it feels like there's actually a qualitative difference that I'm actually give a different name to. So I say that in order to pull this practice off, the extreme sport of meditation, your introspection must become a close companion of your mindfulness, meaning that they are almost two happening simultaneously. So because you're so finely balanced that just one bit more clarity is going to knock you off into distraction. So how is that going to work? Well, the ideal would be if, remember the bullseye, your introspective awareness was in one of the peripheral rings, and your selected object, the tactile sensations of the breath, are right in the bullseye. And then you're toggling back and forth and patching the gaps in each. That's the way that you could really pull that off. Because you're just getting real-time reports about your clarity and your relaxation. So interestingly, so it was Tsongkhapa who was talking about the sentry and how frequently the sentry would check in. So he doesn't, a lot of this stuff you just have to kind of go experience it, and then all of the stuff that, because the Lam Rim can be so kind of sketchy in its instructions. So he doesn't ever talk about the evolution of introspection, for instance. But here's what he has to say. Not only must you develop vigilance that recognizes laxity and excitement as soon as they occur, you must also develop a vigilance that recognizes them when they are on the verge of occurring, before they have actually arisen. So that, you get the idea, I think, that introspection is a really important part of your developing as a meditator. And I don't think it ever gets enough emphasis. But this is really, if you're going to develop that stability and vividness, your introspection just needs to be continually evolving to take you to the next level. So let's go to that next level. Begin by releasing all thoughts, memories, fantasies, and bringing your attention into the domain of your body. And there, with bare attention, focus first of all on those tactile sensations of solidity and firmness, where you are contacting the floor. And now settle the body in its natural state of relaxed ease, stillness, and vigilant attention. By allowing your attention to roam and notice tactile sensations wherever they arise, being especially vigilant for any sensations of tension or pain. If you notice any of those sensations, allow your breath to be drawn to them, and then release those sensations on the exhalation. Let your introspection begin to tune up by giving you a report right now. What is the state of my mindfulness? Am I feeling laxity already? If so, apply the appropriate antidote. You can easily open your eyes. Now shift your bare attention to the tip of your nostrils, or the rim of your nostrils rather. And there, give your full bare attention to these tactile sensations that change as the breath enters and leaves your body. The key to stability is always the release and deepening of relaxation on the exhalation. The key to clarity is the invigoration of the inhalation. The length of your meditation session is one cycle of in-breath and out-breath. Invigorate the clarity of your attention. With each in-breath, you are focused only on the tactile sensations at the rim of the nostrils of the in-breath. You are focused on the tactile and you simply notice an increase of clarity. With each out-breath, deepen your relaxation, releasing all tension, releasing all distraction on the out-breath. You do that by remaining fixed with bare attention on the tactile sensations of the out-breath. And you simply notice a deepening of your relaxation. Each out-breath, relax more and more deeply. And that could become so deep with each out-breath, you must apply the antidote by invigorating your clarity on the very next in-breath. And that could provide so much clarity that you must release immediately on the next exhalation. Continue to oscillate this invigoration and release. Like being at the beach and watching a swell wash on to the beach and then recede out into the deep water again. If your attention has been shanghaied, release your grasp on the distracting object. Rejoice. And release it again. This is it. Return to your chosen object, the tactile sensations of the nostrils. And then relax ever more deeply all the way through the entire course of the out-breath. Feel the fineness of your balance. How the increasing clarity can be too much, almost. How the deepening of your relaxation can be too much, almost. And continue to oscillate between that invigoration of your clarity and the deepening of your relaxation, all as you remain fixed with bare attention on tactile sensations of the nose. there any comments or questions about that?
I noticed in one session that I was able to perceive the very first, or what seemed like the very first warp in the attentional field and the attentional quality towards distraction. So you're on the breath, you can see it and it's pretty vivid, and then the nostrils are pretty large in your view, and then all of a sudden there's just this, the very first thing into getting shanghaied.
Wow.
Yeah, it just happened once, but it was interesting to know it, to get a visceral sense of what that feels like.
Right. Good. That's very good. So that's exactly what we will be working on tomorrow, is being able to do that. And what you're doing is watching the arising of a mental appearance, successfully watching. And that's so significant because normally, until we, in the old terms that I used to use, parlay the stability of attention into stillness of awareness, that we aren't able to almost ever see mental appearances arise until we're in that stillness of awareness meditation, because we become aware of appearances only retrospectively after they have arisen. So very well done. It's you know it can be done.
The rest of the time I was getting shanghaied, but And I also thought I found it really helpful to really slow down when you notice that or when you bring yourself back to lucidity. For me, it helped to actually say to myself, very slowly in English, "Oh, I'm lucid again."
Yes.
Instead of just having the quick thought of "I'm lucid again,"
Right. That's a very good point that deserves some elaboration. So there's a performance expert named Anders Ericsson from Florida State University, who's the one who came up with the 10,000 hour guideline. You may have heard that, you used that in the past, that it's said that to learn any complex cognitive skill is going to require about 10,000 hours of practice. So if you're going to learn to become a decent pianist, or or SHAMATA, Alan has used that figure, 10,000 hours. So interestingly, when I did the math one time, as I recall, 10,000 hours would be about 3 months, or 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days of 8-hour days, something like that. So it requires, so he came up with the guy who came up with the 10,000 hour rule has a caveat about that. And he says that don't think that it's the 10,000 hours at all. That it's just the sheer amount of time that you put in. It's all about the way that you are practicing during that time. And what it is that you are continually giving mindful attention to your performance and continually adjusting your performance to continually improve your performance. So you're continually monitoring. And he said something very interesting, that the thing that really distinguishes an expert from the dilettante is what happens after about 50 hours. At 50 hours, you become familiar with almost any task well enough. So just think of driving. After 50 hours of driving, you can get familiar with it enough that you aren't thinking, okay, which foot goes on the brake and which is the clutch, and where's the blinker, and on and on. Everything just begins to flow. So what happens at that point? It becomes autopilot. And so your mind then can be doing seemingly a number of different things. You can be composing a text message, and driving, I mean, you can't really be doing that, but I mean, you think you can. It becomes so automatic that you don't pay attention to your driving anymore. So Erickson said that the difference with an expert is that at 50 hours, when it could become automatic, he recognizes that he is the danger, that he is beginning to stop paying attention to his performance. And so he then what he does is increases his goal, the quality, so that it keeps him engaged. And that's the value of a coach, Erickson says, that it keeps introducing new elements for the student to keep working on, to keep them engaged and mindfully aware of their performance so that it doesn't become automatic. So how does that relate to what Sam just observed? The tendency, so already you may have, you've already heard the 4 R's, and it already could be just becoming automatic in a sense. Oh yeah, before I became distracted. Oh yeah, release. Oh yeah. You know, so what happens if you just release? You are going to be just right back into distraction. If all you do is recognize that you have been released, it will be like waking from a dream and then going right back into it. So that's why you need to do exactly what Sam was saying. You need to do this very deliberately, and don't just cruise through the 4 R's, but release and recognize that you are just really fully disengaging from that distracting object. And then rejoice fully. Ah, I am lucid. And you can say it to yourself just like that. I am lucid. This is really different than that. And I like it. This feels good. This is it. And then consciously return to your object. What was my object again? Oh yeah, tactile sensations of the breath with the nose. And then consciously give your full attention to the entire out-breath. If you do that, you're doing the reps. You're creating new synaptic connections. If you're not doing that, and Erickson points this out, if you can do everything from 50 hours to 10,000 hours, and if you don't do it with attention, mindful attention, focused to what you're doing, you're not creating the new connections. You know, all you're doing is just mindless repetition then, and you're going to be a dilettante. So the temptation is always to put it on autopilot. Oh yeah, I know that. And especially in retreat. I mean, if you go off to do this for months at a time, that is the one thing that you have to continually recognize the danger of. Putting it on autopilot, rather than just, I'm going to increase my performance. And how far then can you take that performance increase? You can take that to the extreme sport of the Padmasambhava oscillation. Yes?
I found myself focusing more on the sensation of feeling like more clear or more relaxed.
Yeah.
And then I kept forgetting, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be focusing on my nostrils.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Does that have to do with the peripheral, like incorporating peripheral awareness? So are we supposed to be peripherally aware of our arousal level and then centrally aware of our breath, the tactile sensation of the breath, or how does it work?
Exactly like that.
Okay.
So the center of your bullseye is going to be the tactile sensations, hopefully, right? When you're succeeding at this, the tactile sensations are going to be the center of your bullseye. But you're going to get because you want your introspection to be a close companion. So your close companion is going to be noticing clarity. It is going to, the degree of your clarity. Your close companion of introspection is going to be noticing and giving you real-time reports of your level of relaxation and whether it's too much or not. So it will feel like, and that's why they feel like close companions, that they're almost simultaneous. But the thing to not do is to put the feeling of relaxation or clarity in the center of the bullseye, rather than to keep it out in the periphery, because you want the tactile sensations in the center. And why is that? Why is it better that way? So is this what I have said? So did you all notice an invigoration of clarity on the inhalation? It works, doesn't it? Do you notice a deepening of relaxation on the exhalation? It works, doesn't it? Is that just placebo effect? Because I taught you that association, and that now you have begun to associate relaxation with the exhalation,
I don't think so.
clarity with the inhalation?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It would be okay if it was, or if it were only a placebo effect. It would still work, just like 50% or 30% of the effect of antidepressants is placebo effect. You know, if it works, you know, it all, you know, if it works, it's because you have faith that I said it was going to work, so you know, that would be placebo effect. But there appears to be a real physiological reason for it. So, and that is the activity of the vagus nerve, and something called vagal toning. A friend of mine sent me an article a year ago or so about some medical research that described something that was being called vagal tone index. And this was the difference between, so there is it's known, well known in physiology, that with the inhalation there is a slight increase in the heart rate. And with the exhalation, there is a slight decrease in the heart rate. And what this medical research had noticed was that the difference between the increase and the decrease between the exhalation and inhalation, they were calling the vagal tone index. And that the higher the vagal tone index, meaning the greater the difference between the heart rate on the inhalation and exhalation, the better health people reported, meaning everything from fewer common colds to less heart disease, fewer strokes, all of that, and the greater frequency of positive thoughts. So this sounds like a panacea, you know, for health and happiness. Just increase your vagal tone index. Where can I get some of that? Certainly in New York. There must be somebody selling vagal tone index. Look it up and let me know, would you? So it makes perfect sense to me. So there's a natural increase and decrease of the heart rate. It makes perfect sense to me that an increase of the heart rate would be experienced as clarity. It makes perfect sense to me that in a meditative state, when you're really paying attention to your internal state, that a decrease of heart rate would be experienced as release and deepening of relaxation. That's what happens when you relax, right? The heart rate slows. All of the alerting systems, the parasympathetic system, right, slows things down. It says everything is okay now. Slow the heart rate, slow blood flow, all of that. Everything is okay. So that's what relaxation is all about. So it also makes perfect sense to me so it makes sense to me that the difference in heart rate would be experienced as clarity and relaxation. It also makes perfect sense to me that those can be accentuated by focusing on them in the way that we do. And there's a lot of neuroscience also that indicates that the number of neurons in an area where you focus on in the body will all of a sudden really, the number of them lighting up basically will really increase dramatically simply by placing your focus there. It's like moving prana, right? So it seems perfectly logical, and this is the experience of a meditator, that by focusing your attention on the tactile sensations in the center of the bullseye of the exhalation, you are going to deepen the relaxation. You're going to deepen the natural effect of the exhalation. By focusing on the tactile sensations of the inhalation, you are going to accentuate the natural clarity associated with increased heart rate. So I think that's what's going on, frankly. A physiological, natural physiological response that we can begin to make good use of and accentuate and experience. So the whole point of that is to, again, develop stability and vividness. And as we begin to move higher and higher with these practices, you will probably notice that because we started out in the infirmary, and the difference between the infirmary and the high wire, really, you could have tremendous stability in either of them. But the thing about the high wire is the vividness. And this is what, as you go higher and higher in the progression of shamatha, that's exactly what you need to cultivate. So in the Lam Rim, for instance, so many of the statements are koan-like. And if you don't have a meditator, a very experienced meditator in shamatha explaining what's going on, it doesn't make sense. Like many of the instructions that I got for 20 years, when you get to beyond level 5, you hear over and over, the big problem that awaits you is subtle dullness, right? That's always just said, the biggest problem for a meditator is that subtle dullness. What happens there? You can develop what I call a faux samadhi. Because it is so serene, it's so peaceful. Your body can feel very, very heavy. There can be a sense withdrawal. You can feel like you don't want to end the session, you don't want to get up. But it's a faux samadhi. Why is that? Because you're not vivid. You're not vividly engaged. You're just kind of hanging out. You're spaced out. So everybody, knows that. And then the antidote to that, the teacher will just say with a smile, add vividness is the antidote. Good. I'm in New York City. I know I can find that somewhere. Chinatown, Little India, somewhere I know they're selling vividness, because it sounds like a seasoning that you add to the soup. Your soup just so close, it just needs some vividness. Just a dash. Okay, where do I get that? Vividness. So there are all these practices that can lead you, and then the next practices are really then, again, are all about more vividness, especially once you get into awareness. And what is happening then? So, you know how the levels, especially once you get past 4, the shamatha levels, so first you get rid of coarse excitation here at level 4, but you still have coarse dullness. So you get rid of coarse dullness at 5, then you get rid of medium excitation at 6, then rid of medium dullness at 7. So you see, if you've got these two columns of excitation over here and dullness over here, you always take care of excitation, the antidote to coarse excitation, then coarse dullness, then medium excitation, then medium dullness, then subtle excitation and subtle dullness, and then effortless balance. So why is that? It's because the clarity is a natural product of the stability. And so as you eliminate coarse excitation, you are providing the antidote to the coarse dullness. But you have to get to eliminate the excitation first. So why is that? What is this vividness actually? What are you really experiencing there? Well, it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to someone from the discovery model, they will tell you, so Azok Chenpa, or somebody, you talk to me, what's happening here is that as you are becoming more and more stable, you are beginning to sense the natural luminosity of the mind. Remember the three qualities, the natural qualities of the mind? We won't call them inherent just because that's such a dirty word. But the natural qualities of the mind. Is that better? I don't know if it is or not. But still depend on causes and conditions, etc. So they're not inherent qualities. But the luminosity, non-conceptuality, and bliss. So as you progress on the stages of shamatha, it's as if the sun is over the horizon, but coming up, and everything is just getting brighter and brighter. And so you are just beginning to experience the natural luminosity of the mind as vividness. And that happens as you become more and more stable and are no longer losing your object, and then eliminating even the medium excitation. And then finally you just come to rest in the natural luminosity of the mind, in the substrate consciousness at shamatha. So that's where the destination of shamatha in this system is in substrate consciousness, an unconfigured consciousness that has those three qualities of luminosity, non-conceptuality, and bliss. So that is, I think, what vividness really is. Getting glimpses of that luminosity as you approach your destination, as the sun is approaching the horizon, getting brighter, the dawn is getting brighter and brighter. Why is it that the clear light experience is described in that way, as a dawning sky? It's very similar like that. So I think that's it. Yes, Hannibal.
In the last meditation, when I was trying to focus on the edge of the nostril, I was having a hard time, and so then I moved my awareness into the nostril, which was easier and gave me this kind of like, it's hard to describe, like a full sensation relaxation, like everything just kind of like relaxed. And I was wondering if that's okay, or if, like what you mentioned earlier about being careful of the, what was it, being blissed out?
The full samadhi?
The full samadhi, yeah. I was wondering, is there a reason why they have you go at the edge, so that you're also, like you're making an effort, you know what I mean? Or versus just...
No, I think that wherever you're feeling it is okay. Yeah. And that's the whole spirit of shamatha. That don't worry if you're doing it right. but whatever works. Because, and what, so, I mean, what does it mean, whatever works? Whatever is producing stability and vividness. Because that's all it is. There are many different approaches, a lot of different meditative techniques. But what the whole point of all of the techniques is producing stability and vividness. So, and in shamatha, there's a very empirical spirit and pragmatic. So experiment, discover, check out what's working.
You explained what that clarity is from the discovery model, but you hinted that you might talk a little bit about the developmental model. Okay. Oh, I just was hoping.
Yeah, so I did talk about the developmental model. And that was, all of the instructions that I ever got in the developmental model were that the danger, the seduction of subtle dullness has to be overcome with vividness. So, and basically, they just talk about the flaw and then the antidote. The antidote is to add vividness, and that's the only instruction I've ever heard on that. And then especially the clues, I think that actually go in the wrong direction, for instance. And this is really, I hope I say this in all humility, but translating nar as intensity rather than vividness, I think it can be very misleading, because I have seen the intensity demonstrated for me. What does intensity mean? So if subtle dullness, I need to apply the antidote, and that's intensity. The way that I've seen it demonstrated is like this. And the explanation was, this is like a cat at a mouse hole. Nar. And so at this level, you're talking about just nuances, very fine nuances. But the one thing that you really know for sure is that it's going to take more, all of the higher levels are going to take more and more, or deeper and deeper relaxation. And so that, just describing it like that and illustrating it like that, I think just really goes in the wrong direction of intensity is understood as tension, or focusing, more effort in focus, because that is manifestly going to be counterproductive. And so that's why I don't think that, I haven't heard a good explanation in the developmental model of what vividness is. Because they definitely wouldn't describe it as the natural luminosity of the mind, I know that.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah. I don't know, if you find out, I'm curious. So why don't we take a break now, and then we will come back. Why don't we take a 15-minute break now, and then we will come back and do, let's see, so that will be 4 o'clock, 4:30. So that would work, I think. So take a 15-minute break, and then we will come back and do one silent Ghatika. So you will have a Ghatika is Master Kamala Shiva's term for a period of meditation that lasts 24 minutes. So the 24-minute period I really like a lot, and this is the way Alan teaches it, because it's not too long and it's not too short. So it's not too long that you just are going to sit in agony, etc., or you're going to be spaced out, or distracted. And it also is long enough so that you can really feel the settling of your mind. If it just the shorter meditations, they may not be long enough to allow to really notice the settling of your mind. So it's like a jar shaken with sediment that's shaken up. It takes a little time for the turbulence to subside, for the sediment to subside, 24 minutes is getting onto that length of time, and then, in retreat, you gang up a whole bunch of these 24-minute sessions with a 6-minute break in between. So we'll take a 15-minute break now, and then when you come back, it's up to you, because I won't be guiding this meditation. Now you have a whole number of choices to make. First of all, you ask yourself, what's the state of my attention? Do I need clarity or relaxation? So you choose the position to meditate in and the object to meditate in based on your answer to that question. And then you can begin to get a flavor of how you can really turn this into a personal practice. And then, yes, we'll do one Gataka because I have talked on and on too much. I was hoping that we would do 2 Gatakas, but maybe tomorrow I'll be able to stay on schedule. But I think if we do 1 Gataka, there's a good chance we'll be able to stay on schedule, and then maybe tomorrow I can stay on schedule. And if that's the case, if I really stay on schedule tomorrow, we would actually have 3 silent Gatakas. That's an aspiration. But let's take a 15-minute break now, and then we'll come back at 4 o'clock and start our Gataka. So try to be in the room and ready to meditate at 4 o'clock, okay?